With the launch of the Asus Zenfone 5Z, the OnePlus 6 now has a new competitor. Especially because the price difference is really insane. It's a 5,000 rupees price difference between the two phones.
But still, there are like some things that other people are not telling you. And we have tested both of the phones thoroughly. So we can like give an exact idea of what the performance difference is exactly. And which phone performs better if you play like games like PUBG. And of course, all the camera performance also. There is some difference that you should definitely know.
We'll highlight both of those differences in this entire video. And let's just start this off. Hi, I'm Ershad from Mr. Phone. And today
I'm
we have
Shlok from Tech Burner.
And let's get started. First, I want to talk actually about the design of the two phones. And according to me, the Zenfone 5Z has a more functional design compared to the fact that the OnePlus 6 looks good to the eye. What do you think?
Yeah, if you play games on the OnePlus 6 or like put it on a table or something, it kind of tends to slide a little bit. And the build is also very thin, but it looks beautiful.
Absolutely.
And of course, that's the same with the Zenfone 5Z as well.
It looks good, and like you said rightly, the OnePlus 6 feels like it will slip off easily from the hands, and this one doesn't, primarily because it's got these broader rims and it feels nice to hold in the hand, and it's a little more compact if I'm not wrong. So it's a 6.2 inch compared to a 6.3 inch display on that one. But having said that, both of them definitely look premium. The glass back on the rear on both the phones are smudge and scratch magnets. What do you think?
Yeah, like I have got scratches on the OnePlus 6, and of course, this is kind of like a problem with most of the glass phones right now. Although they have Corning Gorilla Glass at the back, both of the phones, but they still get scratched. So no matter which phone you're buying, you'll have to put a case on this, and of course a tampered glass.
And if you're talking about a case, both the phones actually do come with a transparent case in the box, so that helps.
So one of the most interesting things about both of these devices is the camera.
Absolutely.
Like the quality of camera that you get on both the device at this price is amazing. But of course there are some problems with both of them. So if you take out both the devices and take photos of trees or objects or landscapes or anything that is not human, you will find that the Zenfone 5Z has a little better detail and also dynamic range. But when you start taking photos of like human subjects, or maybe dogs or even alligators if you have some, then they kind of then OnePlus 6 kind of gets a little better optimization, and it has like a natural feel to it.
That's like a really good way of putting into perspective what a regular user would use like. But when we get technical into this, what we found out when we compared the Zenfone 5Z and the OnePlus 6 is that the Zenfone 5Z actually takes better shots in low light for one. One of the things that Asus has done is that it actually has used AI across the camera, and whatever you do, the AI can't be switched off, which is interesting. So what that does is, in low light, it switches on the night mode and starts shooting.
So to give it to you guys straight, OnePlus 6 is better at capturing like human portraits, and of course the portrait mode is a little bit better as well.
Right.
And the 5Z, if you want to capture like landscapes or do any kind of photography as well, the professional mode is also amazing. And of course we also have to speak about the front camera because like OPPO and Vivo are two big brands that have thrived on this. So OnePlus 6, I think we both would agree on this.
Yeah, the OnePlus 6 definitely takes better pictures compared to the Zenfone 5Z. But you said that you were using special apps that
Yeah, but if you're using third-party applications on the 5Z, you can actually get better shots with less noise as compared to stock. So like there is definitely something with the software optimization. But right now, of course, we both agree, OnePlus 6 takes better photos. It has better dynamic range, better details.
Everything is better when you're shooting with the front camera.
Yeah.
Talking about the video performance, I think that the OnePlus 6 takes slightly better slow motion shots as well as regular videos as well. Because one of the reasons why I think that the OnePlus 6 takes better video is because at 4K 60 FPS, it does electronic image stabilization, which the Zenfone 5Z doesn't.
You can also watch their video in the top right.
Thank you so much, Shlok, for that shout out.
When we talk in terms of like flagship devices, software is kind of like a big deal.
Big deal.
Because it separates like the flagships from like the mid ranges.
Absolutely.
Specifications are almost the same in like 30,000 and 60,000 phones, but like the software is what actually gets the gist out of the device. Zenfone 5Z, if you talk in just in terms of features, it is way ahead.
Absolutely.
It has all the AI stuff. There is this feature called OptiFlex which optimizes the application. So after using the device for a while, applications will open way faster. Even if you're comparing it with the OnePlus 6, it can be a lot better.
Actually, yeah, we did test that out.
Yeah.
And what we noticed is that I was using Facebook, Twitter, and Telegram, and a lot of these other apps. And what I noticed is that compared to the OnePlus 6, the Zenfone 5Z actually opens it slightly faster all the time, which is very interesting for sure. Having said that, I mean, game frame rates and a lot of other things, both the phones are at par. Once you're inside PUBG, the frame rates are not going to be different.
If you're inside an application or a game,
Right,
they both are like pretty much the same. But I've noticed one thing, the Zenfone 5Z has a lot of theming and a lot of applications extra, so it kind of drops a little bit of frame sometimes.
In fact, I didn't notice that. Shlok had to show it to us that there was this frame drop as well over there. But yeah, that's an interesting point that Shlok makes. But as far as features are concerned, I definitely want to talk about it, is that the Zenfone 5Z is filled with a lot of features, none of which are present on the OnePlus 6. One of the things that you can do on the Zenfone 5Z is you can actually do this AI battery thing where, what it does is that it figures out a way to increase your battery's life or longevity. One of the problems that was there with the iPhone recently, where people were having issues with the fact that Apple might be purposely reducing battery life.
So what it actually does is, like, if you put it overnight on charging, it will automatically charge it like throughout the night. And if you're putting it like in the time of day or something, then it will charge like real quick. So that's kind of like an optimized AI feature, and there's a lot of small stuff like this throughout the whole operating system.
That ensures that the battery lasts longer and you get an optimized software experience as well.
18.7
Right.
मैं अपने वीडियो में बोला 18:7.9.
नहीं 18.7
So both are display, one is AMOLED, one is IPS. You have an IPS display on the Zenfone 5Z and you have the AMOLED on the OnePlus 6. Both have like some plus points, some minus points, and that comes down to the AMOLED versus IPS thing.
Yes, absolutely. They're completely two different technologies, and what you like is based on your preference for sure. But what I've noticed, Shlok, is that the AMOLED panel on the OnePlus 6 is pretty good, of course, no doubt about that. But I really love the IPS LCD panel on the Zenfone 5Z. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that the Zenfone 5Z probably has the best IPS LCD panel on an Android phone. Why? Why do I think that? Primarily because one, it's got a wider DCI-P3 color gamut, and two, the touch substrate and the display itself seem packed tightly together, which means that the icons actually feel like they're floating on the display.
Yeah. That's kind of a nice point to put out. But if you talk about the OnePlus 6 display, of course, AMOLED will give you better contrast, and if the screen is closed, it would have like deeper blacks, and if while displaying blacks, they're like absolute blacks.
Yeah.
So kind of plus and minus of both the displays, but both are top of the line for the price. I've played games on both the devices. They feel almost the same. They have some optimization. OnePlus 6 has this gaming mode. The Asus Zenfone 5Z has this Game Genie, and games work brilliantly on both of these. So if you see in terms of benchmarks, you might be able to make out a difference, but if you play games or heavy applications, both are just the same.
I actually didn't notice any frame drops on either of the phones when I was playing PUBG or Asphalt 8 for that matter. And interesting that you bring up Game Genie and the gaming mode on the OnePlus 6. These modes are actually pretty useful in the sense that if you're somebody who actually streams to Twitch or YouTube, Zenfone 5Z has a direct access to that.
I think like Ershad is also pretty much an audiophile.
Ershad.
Ershad.
Ershad. Like air. Like
air.
the air in these.
So I'll be honest, Ershad is of course a big audiophile and I also love audio like pretty much. And speakers on both the phones are quite different. OnePlus 6 is not on par with most of the mid-ranges right now, and the Zenfone 5Z has an amazing speaker.
Agreed.
And the headphone jack output also, which one do you find better?
I obviously like the Asus Zenfone 5Z's headphone jack. It's got the Zenfone 5Z actually has built-in amps, like proper amps, good quality amps that actually give you better audio performance. But I have to tell one thing. Of course, the OnePlus 6 doesn't provide a pair of earphones, and the Zenfone does provide a pair of earphones. A lot of people seem to think, and a lot of YouTubers have been talking about this, that the Zenfones, earphones are good. I particularly didn't find them to be good. I found the Zenfone's output to be better with another pair of earphones that I use for testing.
They're kind of like 800 rupees earphones that sound good. The front speaker on the Asus Zenfone 5Z also acts as like a stereo speaker, and you would not be able to like cover the speaker up with both hands. But you can definitely do that on the OnePlus 6.
So when you're gaming, obviously there is an obstruction that happens when you're using the speaker, which is what Shlok is trying to say, is that the OnePlus 6 has mono speakers compared to stereo speakers on the Zenfone 5Z. And the Zenfone 5Z has this very interesting thing that makes it really cool, is that it's got this special outdoor mode in the software setting, which reduces the bass and cranks up the volume in case you want to listen to it at really loud volumes.
It sounds super awful, but it sounds loud.
it sounds loud. Like the kinds that they used to have these 3-speaker, 6-speaker phones. Previously.
Cheap Chinese phones from 2010. That's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like.
But the speaker quality is way better on the 5G.
Just don't put the outdoor mode on.
So one more thing we would like to add is about the battery and charging. So battery life is almost same in both of the devices.
Primarily because the Zenfone 5Z and the OnePlus 6 both have a 3300 mAh battery.
But the charging kind of sounds similar on both of these devices. The Zenfone 5Z takes like 10 minutes more when charging. Yeah. But if you are charging and playing games at the same time or doing something while charging, then the OnePlus 6 kind of performs better. So if you're playing PUBG while charging the device, OnePlus 6 will charge like way faster. But the Zenfone 5Z, if you're doing some stuff, it will like slow down your charging times.
So now coming to the most important factor and the reason why everybody's confused between the Zenfone 5Z and the OnePlus 6, the prices. The Zenfone 5Z starts, let's just talk about the base price right now, 6GB, 64GB, 6GB, 64GB on both the phones. The Zenfone 5Z starts at 29,999 and with that new ICICI plan, it comes down to 27,000. It's a no-brainer at that price. And if you're looking at even if you're looking at the 30,000 price, you still have to pay a 5,000 premium for the OnePlus 6. What do you think about it?
Like, I have people who are going to buy like 25,000 phones and they're going for Zenfone 5Z.
Right.
But they won't go for the OnePlus 6 because it's like above their range. And for that price, being a flagship at 27,000 is a big deal in itself.
In fact, at Mr. Phone, we would recommend Nokia 7 Plus a lot. Right now, it's an easy thing to actually recommend the Zenfone 5Z instead. So, honestly, as far as the pricing is concerned, Asus has nailed it according to me.
Yeah. Very aggressive pricing. From 20 to 35,000, I think the Zenfone 5Z is like the most value for money phone.
Absolutely. But one of the things that I want to also add is that the Zenfone 5Z not just gives you 64GB of storage, it also gives you expandable memory. So that is an added advantage as well.
But there is one more thing to add. You get like very little benefits for the 5,000 price that you're paying. But OnePlus has been making like flagship killers for the past 3 or 4 years. So they're kind of consistent. And this is the first try of Asus into the flagship market. I will say they have been quite successful in it because I've tested both of the phones. But still, we'll have to figure like the durability part for some time after testing the devices.
So now you guys who buy the Asus Zenfone 5Z are actually, putting your trust in the brand and, buying the phone right now. Not that Asus is bad. Asus has actually given great service over the years, but the OnePlus trust has been built up to a great extent.
So summing up like both of these devices, I have never been so much confused about like two devices.
Absolutely.
I'll be honest. So I can recommend any of these two devices any day. Both are great value for money. But right now the 5,000 rupee price bracket is what like takes most of the people.
Actually, I completely agree. I mean, I love the OnePlus 6 to death and it's a really good phone. What they've done with the OnePlus 6 is refined it to the T. But Asus has just killed it with the pricing. I mean, they did that with the Zenfone Max Pro M1 as well. This seems to be the strategy for Asus this year in 2018.
So, although you guys did not feel a difference between the two, now here's a hypothetical question. What if the OnePlus 6 and the Asus Zenfone 5Z were at the same price? Now, which phone would you recommend to people?
Damn it. That's a very good question. Oh my god, that's...
If money is not a problem,
Then...
Personally, I would pick the OnePlus 6 because of stock Android.
Same here, even I would go with the OnePlus 6 because of stock Android and because reliability. So I'm so glad we got Shlok from Takniki Jwala. That is right, Takniki Jwala. You know what, a link to his channels here, we love his content. A link to his description is down below as well. And don't forget, we have a great Facebook and WhatsApp group. We'll just put the link out here somewhere. And do join us and have more conversations out there. And maybe if you want to get deeper about OnePlus 6 and Zenfone 5Z, we might just answer your questions out there.
And one more thing, like if you're into like audio stuff, any of the headphones and stuff, make sure you read some of his stuff because it is extremely brilliant.
Thank you so much. So that's it from me. I'm Ershad from Mr. Phone. I hope you liked our video. Do let us know in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And this is Shlok from Takniki Jwala. And don't forget to subscribe to his channel.
Thank you so much.
Good?
Alright, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.